Recently, a question was presented, which is more difficult flying, during the day or during the night? And my answer was, well, it all depends on what kind of flying that you're doing. Day flying is often done under what they call VFR, visual flight rules, where one can look outside of the cockpit and fly according to the ability to see and avoid other traffic and avoid clouds. Airliners, as a rule, don't typically do that. They don't fly under those rules. They fly under instrument rules. Most of the time at night and in inclement weather conditions, you fly under instrument flight rules. You can fly VFR at night typically, but that's not done in the airlines with larger aircraft. Everyone flies instrument flight rules. But flying when you can see outside does ease the burden in many ways, because you can see what is happening oftentimes if you're in the clear. But if you're in bad weather or just weather in general, just flying through the clouds or flying at night, you don't have all those visual cues, but you're relying on your instruments. So my answer is instrument flying is not difficult at all at night or any time, because the airplane flies the same way regardless of the weather conditions, pretty much. But what you have to do and understand is know your instruments, understand your flight instruments, and react accordingly. Airline pilots as a group are trained rigorously in instrument flying. In fact, they have to know this code before they even show up. So that's the environment that you operate in, because the goal is to operate under all weather conditions that are safe enough to operate. Low visibility being one, which is the reason you have different categories of landing. Category 1 is good weather. Category 2 is inclement weather. And Category 3 is the lowest visibility. Almost 0-0, not quite 0-0, but pretty close to it. But again, that's done through automation and a reliance of instruments. You don't really need to look outside. And if you look outside, there's nothing to see anyway. So during low visibility conditions, pilots are basically monitoring the automatic instruments on the airplane, just there in case something goes wrong, which happens every once in a while. So it's almost its own magic carpet. When you can see outside, the problem that with that sometimes come in the form of optical illusions. Be it day or night, we can have optical illusions. Most of the time, the optical illusions will be at night. And there are many people who've made visual approaches and landed short or not on the runway because they got into what's known as the black hole effect, where a lighted surface surrounded by a dark area may seem either much lower or much higher than it actually is. So we can misperceive what's actually going on. Hence the need for reliance on flight instruments in instrument flight rules. That's the safest way to go. Even if you're a private pilot, if you're going to fly at night, you need to know your instruments. VFR flight at night does have its own inherent hazards. You get the same problem, but also you have fewer visual cues, so it's easier to misperceive anything. John F. Kennedy Jr., son of the late President John F. Kennedy, died in a plane crash, his own airplane. He was flying at night. He was with, I believe, with his wife also and another person. But one of the complicating factors was that he was not qualified to fly at night. He was not qualified to fly an instrument airplane, and basically lost control of the aircraft and it plunged into the water. Very tragic, very unnecessary. So everybody has their limitations. There are weather limitations for flying at day, flying at night, even flying under instrument conditions. But one has to know their limitations too, if you're a private pilot or a recreational pilot. But airline pilots are trained to fly to the lowest minimums across the board. But again, that comes with great instruments, special instrumentation. Now, if you want to talk about flying off aircraft carriers, well, I can say a little something about that. Is it harder flying during the day or during the night? It is much harder flying during the night. That's a discussion in itself, but we call them traps. Arrested landings called traps. Everybody liked the day traps, but they didn't like the night traps quite as much, because as in the day you can have, weather that restricts visibility and sea states that make landing difficult, and you can also have them at night, which compounds the challenge. So I say again, the flying is flying. Generally speaking, it's probably a little bit easier during the day than at night. That's all for now. And by the way, I've made a guide for nervous flyers who may need a little bit reassurance. It's free. Click the link below, and it's yours for free, no charge. Enjoy.